Welcome to Tyndall Air Force Base's first Industry Day. Industry Day is where the Air Force senior leaders and industry come together to devise innovative solutions to rebuild Tyndall Air Force Base. In order to do this, we're going to have to act as partners in this, partners between industry and the Air Force. On behalf of the Air Force, we're pleased that you've taken time away from your busy schedules to assist us with our rebuild of one of the Air Force's most important bases in their inventory. I'm Don Arias. I'm from the 325th Fighter Wing, Public Affairs Office, and I'll serve as the moderator for today's event. We ask that you please silence your cell phones, and thank you. And at this time, I'll ask everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. I would also like to welcome our distinguished visitors today. Please hold your applause to the end because you may not like one of them. Who knows? U.S. Representative for Florida District 2, the Honorable Neil Dunn, Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Installations, Environment, and Energy, the Honorable John Henderson, the Commander, 1st Air Force, Tyndall Air Force Base, Lieutenant General Scott Williams, State Chief Financial Officer for Florida, Jimmy Petronis, Representative for Florida, the Honorable Jay Trumbull, the Director of Air Force Civil Engineering Center, Mr. Terry Edwards, the Mobilization Assistant to the Commander, Air Force Installation and Mission Support Center, Joint Base San Antonio-Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, just rolls right off the tongue, Brigadier General Patrice Melanson, the Director, Regional Business South Atlantic Division, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Mr. Theodore Brown, the Commander of the 325th Fighter Wing, and my personal favorite of Tyndall Air Force Base, Colonel Brian Laidlaw, and the mayors from our surrounding cities, from Callaway, Mayor Pam Henderson, from Lynn Haven, Mayor Margot Anderson, from Mexico Beach, Mayor Al Cathy, from Panama City, Mayor Greg Brudnicki, from Panama City Beach, Mayor Mike Thomas, from the City of Parker, Mayor Rich Musgrave. The Bay County Commissioners with us today, Mr. Tommy Ham, Mr. Robert Carroll, Mr. Bill Dozier, Mr. Keith Baker. The Director, Tyndall Project Management Office, Colonel Scott Matthews. From the Bay Defense Alliance, Mr. Tom Neubauer and Mr. Glenn McDonald. Also welcome to all congressional staff members, Bay County officials, colonels, chiefs, and special guests. I think now we can clap. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Tom Neubauer, President of the Bay County Defense Alliance, to the podium. Mr. Neubauer is a longtime member of the Bay Defense Alliance and was the recipient of the 2018 Community Leadership Award from the Association of Defense Communities. This national level award recognized that under Tom's leadership, the Bay Defense Alliance has become one of the best examples in the country of how to bring community leaders, military families, and installation commanders together around and the shared mission of supporting military readiness. We welcome him to the podium. Tom, you have the floor.
Well, thanks for those kind words. Good morning. So on behalf of a great American defense community, I'd like to say thank you for coming here and welcome to this beautiful Panama City campus of Florida State University. I'd like to just say thanks for your interest in what I think will be remembered as an historic recovery of a national asset, Tyndall Air Force Base. We're pleased that you're here. We're especially grateful for the participation and engagement of Air Force senior leaders, engineers, subject matter experts, all of our communities in Bay County and in surrounding areas, our state government, our legislators, the governor, and certainly our congressional delegation who has a very important role in all of this. Just like to say first, thank you for your commitment to participate and learn in this forum. We hope you have a very worthwhile experience today and walk away with something of value. Together we're going to complete this and do it well together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Neubauer. At this time, I'd like to welcome to the stage State of Florida's Chief Financial Officer, who's also from Panama City, Chief Jimmy Petronis.
Don, did anybody ever tell you you have a face for radio?
Yes, they did.
You don't think Don Harris loves Northwest Florida? He was at First Air Force forever, and then we couldn't run him off, and he's back down at the wing. So anyway, that's what Northwest Florida does, and that's what Tyndall Air Force Base has done. The pure quality of life that Northwest Florida provides to so many that come back again and again and again, and if they've served throughout the world and they find the opportunity to find this one special place to call home, it seems like Tyndall is a reoccurring theme of the end of that story. What is more of a flattering compliment to a community from a family that has traveled the world protecting our nation, that they decide they want to retire in your backyard. So the quality of life that we try to embody and embrace and really promote is unique, and it wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for the quality of personnel that makes up Tyndall Air Force Base and then ultimately makes up part of our community. I got to serve in the state legislature for 8 years, and one of probably the neatest pieces of legislation that I got to be a part of is we looked around and we looked at every state in the union, and we thought, well, what do we need to do to be the most military-friendly state out of the 50? So we went and we stole everybody's ideas, and we put together, we upended licensure for professions, and we had an environment where you were an Air Force dentist and you've traveled the world, and you come back to Florida and we wouldn't allow you to practice unless you sat for all the Florida boards again. So we scrubbed all of that. We made it as quickly and transparent as we could to be able to capture that talent and give them a reason why to call Northwest Florida their home. And what a greater compliment it is to our community that the best and brightest airmen that decide to serve our country get to make part of what makes Northwest Florida so special, makes the fabric of our community. So, as I was watching Hurricane Michael bear down on Northwest Florida, it's hard not to get emotional. This is your home. And I thought, well, there's opportunities that will come from this, but there'll be a lot of challenges, and God bless our mayors and our county commissioners, because they've been at the tip of the spear dealing with the challenges and the phone calls when Verizon worked, as we tried to help navigate this tragedy that nobody ever could have scripted. I'm going to be a little candid with you. As I was I was getting back into the area, and I thought, well, God, I said Tyndall. I went over Tyndall. What's Tyndall going to look like? And then I thought, well, I know at least a lot of the base housing out at Tyndall is all privately owned. It'll be insured, so that'll be a fast track process. But there's challenges there, and I think as we're trying to have a coordinated effort, and base housing is such an important component to creating the stability of creating that community. There's been pressure applied at all different levels. I'm sure Balfour's heard it loud and clear. But when Governor Scott came here on December 10th and partnered with our superintendent to get Tyndall Elementary open, it was important that we sent a message to Washington that, not only are we excited to have Tyndall as part of our community in the future, but we want to make sure our school is open for your families to be able to have their children attend. So the school, in my opinion, needs to be full. And the easiest way to have that school full is to make sure that we have good available housing for our brave men and women to come back and build the community that I'm so proud to be a part of. It's hard for me to be biased. I'm supposed to have a statewide perspective. I'm supposed to have this Tallahassee mentality, but Northwest Florida is my home. And to see the challenges Tyndall has faced, it's very emotional. I've had, I think, 3 people between Tom Neubauer and Representative Dunn point out to me that I need to take the F-22 off my lapel and place it with the F-35. And that's true, but you know, when you're digging around in your house this morning to try to find the best way to pay respect, and I'm sorry, I was just always an F-22 guy. We will pivot, and we will adapt, and we will adjust, and we will become an F-35 family in Northwest Florida. Look, God bless y'all all for being here. Thank you for the collaborative effort of wanting to see this incredible gem of Northwest Florida be restored. Colonel, where's Colonel at? Thank you for what you've endured. To see what you and your men and women have had to put up with, to get Tyndall operational, to show the rest of the world that we deserve to have a chance to have Tyndall back online. It wouldn't have happened if y'all didn't make the commitment, the focus, the drive to start to create a landing strip that works. God bless y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief Petronas. I'd like to welcome at this time Congressman Neil Dunn, who's a representative for Florida's 2nd Congressional District. Sir, we welcome you to the stage.
Thanks so much. So I get a better view than you guys do. Look, it is beautiful here, and I want to also convey my thanks to all the members of the industry who came here and showed that they're really ready, willing, and able to help us stand Tyndall back up again, because it is a gem of an Air Force base, and when you get done with it, it's going to be the best one in the whole world. And I want to convey not only my support, but the support of the federal government. And I know sometimes it's easy to doubt the support of the federal government, but I promise you the will is there. It's gotten gummed up in some of the political drama in Washington right now, but the votes are there on the Senate, the votes are there on the House, and in the end of the day, we're going to get this base rebuilt. And, Colonel Laidlaw, I can't say enough good about you, your men and women, the bravery, the persistence, the dedication they've shown in cleaning up the base and helping rebuild already. I heard Verizon say that they'd never seen anybody so willing to help them trench in the new cables and stuff. So, I mean, kudos to your team. That's been an outstanding effort. In the weeks following this storm, we had the President, the Vice President, the Secretary of the Air Force, Heather Wilson, was here. Every one of them committed to rebuilding Tyndall completely. And the missions that they've assigned to Tyndall show that they not only are rebuilding it completely, but bigger, in the words of the President, bigger and more beautiful than ever. And it will. We will have more combat aircraft. We'll have more missions. And it really is a unique gem, because if for no other reason than the fact that the Gulf range for testing and training is right on our shore. And that is a literally irreproducible asset, nationally and even internationally. So we have wonderful reasons to do that, and the Air Force has recognized how wonderful it is. This is key to not only to national security, but also to those of us in Bay County. And I want to channel something that I still call him Representative Petronas. I have to call him Chief Petronas now, CFO. Jimmy. So, this really is a wonderful place to live, a wonderful community. And I was an Army officer, and when I got out, I had an opportunity to go anywhere I wanted to go. I chose this place. And I chose it because this has been the single most friendly military community, and I'm talking about the whole handle now, single most friendly community to the military throughout my life. And I'm sort of Vietnam era, so we weren't always popular everywhere we went. But we were always popular here. I mean, this community has loved and revered its military always, through all the thick and thin. And I want you to know we still do, and we're still going to make the Air Force our #1 priority here, along with the Navy and the Coast Guard. And that's coming from an Army guy. Come on. I got to. So my job is to fully commit to making Washington give you the resources that you need. Colonel Scott Matthews, the resources to rebuild Tyndall. And I promise you, they have a great plan. you're going to love the plan that he's going to lay out. This is going to be a high-speed operation. I've seen it. We've shared it with him. This is outstanding. And I guess I'm going to close with saying that in addition to all the members of the industry, the members of the military, we have some outstanding community leaders here. And I know, as Jimmy said, that they're at the tip of the spear, the county commissioners, the city commissioners, the mayors. My gosh, the things you guys have gone through. I think Greg's lost some weight. The stress. It's been a tough time. But you're hanging together well. We're doing a great job with this. Also want to thank Tom and Glenn, Tom Newbauer, Glenn McDonald on the Florida Defense Alliance. They have been nonstop working up in Washington, along with the brains of the outfit, Kathy Ferguson. She's here somewhere. Thank you so very much for everything that you do for the Panhandle and Bay County. God bless you.
Thank you, Congressman Dunn. To help us kick off Industry Day, I'd like to welcome the Honorable John W. Henderson to the podium. Mr. Henderson is the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Installations, Environment, and Energy. He's responsible for providing guidance, direction, and oversight for all matters pertaining to the formulation, review, and execution of plans, policies, programs, budgets, and Air Force positions to meet Air Force installations, energy, environment, safety, and occupational health objectives. We welcome Mr. Henderson from the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. Honorable Mr. Henderson, please.
So good morning, Congressman. Thank you. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for your partnership in D.C. as we figure out how to find the means to get this all done. It's an important relationship, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate your partnership in being here today. Tom, good to see you again. Long time no see. We were in D.C. yesterday at a different forum, and we flew down together. So anyway, good to see you. Mr. Petronas, also thanks for your time and your partnership and your advocacy for the Air Force here. I just want to, I look out here and see a huge crowd. I especially want to thank every single one of you for showing up today for Industry Day. Thanks for caring, and thanks for being on our team. I'm an old Army guy too. We used to say, and I don't know where it came from, so I'm sure it's supposed to be attributed to somebody, but we used to say shared adversity builds strong bonds. And by looking around here today, and by having monitored very closely how this recovery's gone with Tyndall and the partnership with the community, I can say that the bond between the Air Force and this community has never been stronger. It's exactly these types of bonds, forged in trust, commitment to one another, and bonded by the character of our community, that builds these strong teams. And I've learned, if nothing else, through my association with the military, that strong teams can get nearly anything done and overcome almost any challenge. And that's a fortuitous coincidence for us, because we have some immense challenges in front of us, and we have some immense opportunities to do some amazing things. But it only works when we all show up. It only works when we all show up and bring our A game, and we're committed to a shared vision, and we all have the same resolve and same vision, and treat each other with dignity and respect as we go through this. So thank you all for showing up. Thank you for bringing your A game. Thank you for your willingness to commit to a vision for our future with Tyndall Air Force Base, and the community for which we just happen to be part of. So that's what today is all about. Gaining a shared understanding on the challenges and the opportunities and the work ahead of us, to get an update from the commanders here on exactly where we're at and where we'd like to go. We're going to discuss a little bit about the ways and the means. A lot of the stuff that we do in the Pentagon and working with Congress, it has to do with answering the question of what we're going to do. And then we turn it over to our commanders and our leaders to talk about how we're going to get that done. And we're going to talk a little bit about both of those today. And this is also an extremely important opportunity for us to listen to each other, learn about each other's ideas, innovations, concerns, and so on. And so we're looking forward to a healthy dialogue today for the betterment of the entire community, not just Tyndall Air Force Base. This has to be a joint endeavor going forward. So we can't do this without your help. We can't do this as an independent effort, separate from the community's recovery effort. This only gets done by working together as a strong team of teams with the Air Force, this community, the Department of Defense, the administration, and Congress. It's going to take all of us in this case because the challenge is just that big. The success of our Air Force missions, the well-being of our families stationed here, the schools for our kids, and so on, completely depends on the successful recovery of the community. And likewise, the community's long-term recovery and economic stability is intrinsically linked to the successful recovery of Tyndall Air Force Base. So we're in this together. Therefore, I just want to reiterate the Secretary's comments. The Air Force is totally committed to rebuilding Tyndall Air Force Base. And to this end, as you know, we've proposed some bold moves to bring fifth-generation fighter aircraft to Tyndall Air Force Base by 2023, while consolidating the F-22s, which were previous here, with other F-22 units to achieve higher readiness rates for that fleet. We've worked hard to minimize the movement of personnel in and out of the community and the associated economic impacts of that by keeping most of the missions here in the interim while we rebuild the base. Actually, we worked really hard to keep every mission that we could feasibly keep here while we rebuild the base. Looking forward, we'll continue to work with the administration and Congress to get the additional funding we need over the next 4 or 5 years to completely recover Tyndall Air Force Base. This is a significant ask of the American people. Our estimated cost just for the reconstruction of Tyndall as a fifth-generation fighter base is well over $3 billion, and that's just for the reconstruction piece of this. That doesn't talk about a lot of the operations and maintenance that's going to go on, and certainly doesn't talk about the money that we've fronted so far in current year funds just to do the response and recovery. So the overall ask for a supplemental is a significant ask, and I don't underestimate the decision that's ahead of Congress when you put it against the other supplemental fundings and the rest of the politics that are going on in D.C. right now. So again, thanks for your help, and I would commend the rest of the Florida delegation who's been wonderful partners in this to date. Part of this process is we will prepare a new, what we call an installation development plan, or a master plan for Tyndall Air Force Base, which will be partially informed by your feedback and questions and ideas here today. And our goal is to present this to Congress later this spring. And finally, we intend to keep the environmental assessment work for the MQ-9 basing action on schedule in spite of the weather disruptions so that the Secretary of the Air Force can make her final decision on this matter as scheduled. So again, on behalf of Secretary Wilson, please know that we're fully committed to the recovery of Tyndall Air Force Base and committed to serving as your partner in the recovery of the communities here that have always been there for us. And to wrap up here, I would just like to ask, I think they're the next two presenters anyway, Colonel Laidlaw and Colonel Matthews, to come up on stage. I just want to, on behalf of the Secretary, to just give them a very public thank you for their leadership under exceptionally challenging conditions to ensure their mission accomplishment and to always look out for the safety and health of their airmen, their families, and the communities in which we serve. Well done, gentlemen. I'm going to give you the traditional